is Gonzalo's not here, but his father is. Gonzalo Lira Sr. watched those videos that his son put out, read those tweets that his son posted, hoped that he, like us, would be having a reunion with Gonzalo this evening, but sadly not so. And so I introduce to you for the second time on the show, Gonzalo Lira Sr., father of Gonzalo Lira, the journalist and campaigner. Mr. Lira, sir, thank you for joining us. It must have been a roller coaster, a difficult few days for you.
Yes, indeed, George. I thank you, first of all, for having me once again in your show. It's been terrible. As a father, it's unbearable not to know where your son is. Now, I know that obviously during his period in prison from May the 1st to July the 6th, Gonzalo was tortured and extortion. The worst things in the world are in those prisons of countries like Ukraine, where the value of humankind is zero, and no one in the world does anything to prevent countries like Ukraine to violate human rights to any individual that may fall into their hands. If I may give you a statement, Gonzalo, I'm sure, has been detained once again by the Ukrainian police while he was trying to leave the country in search of asylum in Hungary. I have texted his attorney, Viktor Sezkovny, and he has no information. Gonzalo was certain that in his August 2nd court appearance, he was to be found guilty and sent to prison for 8 years. Why wasn't he deported and get it over with? By the way, since Gonzalo did not appear on August 2nd, the court gave him another date, August 22nd. Hard to believe. Gonzalo, after suffering torture and extortion in the CISO prison, was finally released by posting a bail bond and attempted to leave Ukraine. My son posted 3 videos because it was his last chance to tell the world that in Ukraine, torture, extortion, and the worst treatment of a human being is normal practice. Spokesperson Miller and the Department of State of the USA are a collection of morally wrong bureaucrats at the mercy and serving a decrepit president being investigated at this point in time. The State Department has not honored his pledge that says in every U.S. embassy that they are bound to help U.S. citizens in trouble overseas. Do you know why my son George did not ask the USA for asylum? Because he simply knew the U.S. Embassy in Kiev would have sent him right back to the criminal SBU. Biden is under investigation for receiving money from, among other countries, Ukraine. Biden is behind this wall of attrition. The end will be the destruction of Ukraine as we knew before February 2022. Open your eyes. We're seeing the end of the USA as an empire and the birth of a new one, China. Biden precipitated the decay of the USA as world leader. The US government presently is spending 53% in military and 47% for other goods. The USA as an empire has ended and has died as the biggest producer of armaments in the world. To sell, it must create wars. The prosecutor, in his charges, admits that Gonzalo has not done any criminal activities towards individuals or property. All Gonzalo has done is criticize Zelensky's war strategy and the lies that Occident is reporting as to the outcome of the war. My son was tortured and suffered extortion, forced to pay $70,000 to jail thugs, or we destroy your left eye. He got cracked rib in his first cell. The worst stretch was in his fourth cell. And I'm quoting one of his videos when he says, once inside Sizewell prison, my son was tortured in 2 of the 4 cells he was in. And he was tortured by his fellow prisoners. Guards never beat prisoners. They outsource torture and extortions. From 1 p.m. June 21st till 7 p.m. the next day, 30 hours, he was beaten and sleep deprived. His arms twisted the wrong way around at his shoulders, and generally beaten pretty bad. What is the USA doing to protect a U.S. citizen born in Burbank, California, on February 29th, 1969? Is the State Department looking the other way, as spokesman Miller did? My son was released on a bail of $11,000 and handed him both his passports, the USA and Chilean. Days later, he picked up from the SBU offices his driver's license, his BMW motorcycle papers, and they did not put an electronic brace on his ankle. I strongly, George, suspect that this was a setup by the sinister SBU so that they can add another legal accusation. Finally, I'm requesting Antonio Guterres, Secretary of the United Nations. I'm requesting Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, United Nations Watch to pressure Biden and Zelensky to free my son of an assured death in an Ukrainian jail. Finally, I'm requesting Tucker Carlson, Max Blumenthal, George Galloway, Tim Iverson, Alex Christoforou, Alexander Rubinstein, and so many others like you, George, men of heart, men that defend the right of individuals to have my son be free once and for all, deport him. That is my statement, George.
Free Gonzalo Lira, that is the call from you and from us in the mother of all talk shows. Once he's free, all manner of things can be discussed and revealed. But until he is freed from the dungeons of Britain and America's best friend, the Kiev regime, then there can only be one order of battle. One order of battle only, that everyone should follow. We demand the release of Gonzalo Lira. Whether we like him, don't like him, whether we think he's this or that, we demand his release. I think that many could, certainly should, rally behind that call. Gonzalo Lira Sr., thank you. In a very painful interview with me, you have done some good for your son and for humanity.
Let me just show you.
Let me move on.
Let me just show you. This was Gonzalo when he was a senior in high school at his home in Santiago at that time. After high school, he went on to Dartmouth College in the USA, graduated with his bachelor's degree, and his diploma was handed by the then President Bill Clinton. My son does not deserve to be in jail, George.
No, you should try and get Bill Clinton to do something also. That's a very everyone has to put their shoulder to this wheel. Whatever they think of his views, everyone should be involved in this campaign. I need to press on because we need to allow callers to respond, Mr. Lira Sr., and so I thank you and I beg your leave.